Now let's get into scheduling. All right, what's Commissioner Klatt going to do with the schedule? How are teams being scheduled in college football? And here's the deal. First and foremost, super conferences have made schedules really difficult. And we've seen that play out now this year. So you've got favorable schedules, you've got non-favorable schedules within these super conference teams or conferences. And so the premise being we need more games of Power 4 against Power 4. Preferably, everybody is going to play a similar number or the same number of conference games. And as commissioner, that's what I would mandate. Every conference is going to play the same number of conference games. And then I also believe that we need to take away scheduling from athletic directors. Like, we don't let NFL owners build their own schedule. So why in the world do we let athletic directors build their own schedule? I think that needs to be a centralized process. And if we do that, we can increase the valuable inventory 5, 6, 7, 10-fold. I'm looking at you fans and I'm like, I'm about to give you more of what you want. And I think that we're going to be leveling the playing field from a schedule standpoint so that we don't get these drastic differences in terms of favorable schedules within conference and non-favorable schedules within conference. Okay. How do we do this? We've got to have an aligned schedule format. That's where we've got to start. And as commissioner, my suggestion for an aligned scheduling format, which every team would take part in, is a 9-1-2 model. Follow me here. 9-1-2. Every team in the country, 9 conference games. Every team in the country, 1 non-conference game against another Power 4 opponent. And every team in the country, 2 games against the group of 5 to help with their budget. So that's how I'm getting to 12. Everybody would play the exact same format, okay? Aligned scheduling format. And I know what people are going to say is like, and this is where you start getting kind of those tangential, if you want to call it, tangential questions and thoughts about, well, what do you do with Notre Dame? And what do you do with that? Okay, listen, we're going to be tackling all of that sometime in the future. This is a New Year's resolution. This is our first week on the job. Commissioner Klatt's open for business. And what's one of the first things he's going to do in 9-1-2 scheduling format? All right, so SEC, you're about to play 9 conference games, which you should anyways, but now you're going to play 9 conference games. ACC, same thing. And then we got to get into this non-conference. How in the world do you schedule this one non-conference game? Well, this is where I really love this format. All right, are you ready? Are you ready? I believe that one Power 4 non-conference game is going to be scheduled for you by my office based on where you finished the previous year. So I talked about pod system, grouping system in the postseason with the bowl games, but the same thing is going to happen here on an annual basis in terms of your schedule. Where you finish in your conference will matter for the next year. So I'm going to kind of borrow and adapt from the NFL model because I do think that they have it right in this regard. And I think that this would be better for the fans. This is not turning college football into the NFL. This is giving you more of what you want. Okay? So when you pod teams based on where you finished in your conference, then you would get, for example, the top 3 teams from every Power 4 league in Pod A or Tier A. Tier 1, whatever you want to call it. Every one of those teams would have to play another one of those teams based on a blind draw. We're just drawing those games like a lottery, like the World Cup draw. It would be incredible. So now we've got a non-conference game draw. That's how we're scheduling your one non-conference Power 4 game. So let's just say for sake of argument, we've got these teams, right? So we've got the 12 teams from Pod A this year. And let's just say like, okay, we're here on the game draw. And let's say Fox is going to televise it. And all the ping pong balls are down there. And we say, okay, like who's at home? And this is going to be the home team. And it's like, shunk, the ping pong ball kind of like pops up. And it's like, Oregon, bam. And it's like Oregon fans are like, all right, we get a home game in our non-conference. Who is it going to be? Well, now the other Big Ten teams are pulled out of the lottery. And so now it's just the other non-conference teams. And it's like, who's going to Oregon? Balls are going. And it's like you hit the button and shunk, here it comes up. And who is it? Who is it going to be? Tennessee. Tennessee goes to Oregon next year in the non-conference. And everyone's like, all right. Giving you more of what you want, folks. Quality inventory. This would be incredible. And you would have tier 1, you would have tier 2, you would have tier 3, you would have tier 4. Trust me, I've thought about, I know that there's not similar number of teams in every conference, but listen, it's not that difficult if you just make Notre Dame a quote ACC team, and then you can schedule on the back end for those conferences, ACC and the Big Ten, that would have kind of 18 teams. I've thought about all that. You don't want to hear about that because that's the minutia. I can tell you that right now. But I do know that this scheduling fix would be awesome. The non-conference draw, we're helping with the budgets of the group of 5. We're getting more of the quality games that we want. By the way, 2 teams that would be in tier 2 for this February's draw for next season, Ohio State, who finished 4th in the Big Ten, and Alabama, who was not in the top 3 in the SEC. So you could get an Alabama and Ohio State game. Oh, that would be incredible. By the way, we could do it again. And so now it's like, everyone's like, all right, Tennessee at Oregon. Here we go. And Commissioner Klatt's sitting there and he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. And then quiet everyone down. Home team, shunk, Miami. And everyone's like, all right, who are the Canes playing? What are we doing? You take the rest of the ACC teams out and you're like, shunk, BYU. And everyone's like, all right, here we go. Miami and BYU. And here we go. Because college football is awesome. And I want to have more games like this. Quality opponents facing quality opponents. And by the way, if you're a good team and you finish high in your conference, you should have to play a more difficult schedule. You really should. I don't want to see these teams that all of a sudden get like cake schedules, even though we know that they're really good. Texas looking at you within the SEC. That's one of those things. Not a knock. It's just a truth. Just a truth. So that's the scheduling fixes that I would have as commissioner, mostly driven for you, the fans. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.